The Kansas City Chiefs kicked off their mandatory minicamp this week, and Chris Jones is not there. We'll discuss what this means for the future and if Chiefs Kingdom should be concerned. But before we do get into all of that, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, as I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related that you do not want to miss out on. And without further ado, let's have some fun. On Tuesday, the Kansas City Chiefs kicked off their mandatory minicamp, and today we'll go through all the press conferences and all the news and notes that took place on Tuesday and today, and also the big headline. Let's just dive into it right now, is that Chris Jones did not report to mandatory minicamp so far, in which I expect he won't throughout the rest of the week. And honestly, this has the media, it has Chiefs Kingdom a little hectic. If you were going to rate me on a scale of 1 to 10 on how anxious, nervous I am that Chris Jones isn't at mandatory minicamp, right now I'm having it at a solid 0. Now, as the weeks and month progresses to when the Kansas City Chiefs go to training camp, and if Chris Jones is not there, then you pique my interest and I might start getting a little concerned. Honestly, the big topic of conversation and why Chris Jones isn't at the Kansas City Chiefs mandatory minicamp is because the huge deal that is lingering, and wouldn't want to call it contract dispute, but it's a contract that has to be agreed upon because Chris Jones wants an extension, and I believe the Kansas City Chiefs want to make Chris Jones a Chief for life, and it's just some numbers they have to hammer out. Now, the reason I'm not basically nervous, anxious, or don't think a deal will get done is because it's still early in the summer. And if you look back to when Chris Jones signed his initial deal, it was in mid-July too, basically right before training camp happens. And on this channel, I mentioned time in and time out. This is when it's going to get done. It's going to get done right before training camp. And then he's going to be there and everything is going to be okay. Now, there is a possibility this can turn left real quickly, but I'm not going to focus in on that until training camp comes. I don't think it's going to go that direction because that would be really, really crazy. Chris Jones is one of the best, if not best, defensive players in the league right now. Arguably the best defensive tackle. You can still debate about Aaron Donald, but I would just be shocked if the Kansas City Chiefs went the direction to either not extend him or trade him. This is not a Tyreek Hill situation in my eyes. Tyreek Hill did not make the Kansas City Chiefs offense. He was a huge part of the offense, but the offense rolls through Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce as well. And you've seen, you could put anyone at wide receiver. Patrick Mahomes is going to be Patrick Mahomes. But on the defense, Chris Jones runs that defense. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And if you lose him, your defense takes a huge step back. So I'd be shocked to see the Kansas City Chiefs trade or not extend Chris Jones, but let's just see what happens within the month. Now let's get into the news and notes of this mandatory minicamp, and it's going to be offensive loaded because right now that seems like what's catching the lights, cameras, actions, and they're just making plays out there. And what we're going to focus on first is the running back room. And not Chiefs Kingdom's favorite, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He took the podium in the first day of minicamp, and we got a kind of insight onto how he was approaching Super Bowl week and why he didn't go to the Kansas City Chiefs parade, which was a huge topic of conversation for Chiefs Kingdom, who thought, oh, if he ain't going to show up to that, why is he even on the team? Well, he led us into a little bit of that. What we're going to discuss first is his week or couple weeks leading into the Super Bowl week, and honestly, it caught me by surprise because Clyde Edwards-Helaire was practicing heavily throughout the week at multiple positions. He was basically the wide receiver clone trying to mock Devontae Smith and also getting his reps in at running back and getting in where he could fit in to try to help the team win a Super Bowl. And I could see in Clyde Edwards-Helaire's perspective on, man, I was putting in all this work. I thought I was ready to go, and then I was inactive. I could see if he was bitter, which he didn't mention by any stretch of the imagination, but if he was bitter, I could see it, and why he may not have showed up to a parade or why he may be salty that he wasn't active, because he put in all that hard work and effort and time to play in that Super Bowl. Now, like I said, he did not say any of that, but if I was in his shoes and I'm coming off an injury and I'm feeling like myself and I'm going through all these multiple positions and I'm feeling good and then I'm inactive, or I find out that I'm not going to be playing in the game because I noticed my jersey wasn't there. Those are some things that can make people feel some sort of way. So I understand where Clyde Edwards-Helaire is coming from. Now, going from the parade, he said, hey, I had things that I basically promised that I was going to do during that week, and I kept my word on it. Now, that still doesn't slide for a lot of Chiefs Kingdom, because at the end of the day, a Super Bowl, a parade could be a once-in-a-lifetime type of opportunity, and they feel like, well, if you would have told them, they would have understood. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire can really be an upbeat type of guy and really stick by his words. I'm not going to read too much into that. What I am going to focus on, though, and what we have heard throughout of minicamp and even OTAs in this offseason, is Clyde Edwards-Helaire is looking very, very good. And he's looking like a man with a chip on his shoulder and a man on a mission. And he knows he's going to fight for a roster spot. Nothing is signed, sealed, and delivered for him. So we're going to see a highly motivated Clyde Edwards-Helaire, which I'm excited about. I can't wait for training camp. I can't wait for preseason because my eyes are going to be zoned in on Clyde Edwards-Helaire. A lot of people wrote him off. I feel like he can still be a vital point on this offense. Andy Reid loves to use these running backs, and he doesn't like to just focus on one of them either. Early portion of last year, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a focal point on this offense, definitely in the red zone. If he can show that he can still be a weapon in that area, it's going to be hard not to have him part of this team. But also, another guy the Kansas City Chiefs brought back is a fan favorite in Jerick McKinnon. And he talked about his offseason a little bit, and he talked about that he did have a couple teams interested in him. But at the end of the day, Kansas City was home. It was like last year. This is where he wanted to be, and he feels, hey, I want to have another run at a Super Bowl. And he wants to have another iconic moment too, because the media was saying, are you okay with basically the highlight of your career being kneeling down at the one? And Jerick McKinnon mentioned, hey, I'm a team player. It had us win the Super Bowl. So if that's my iconic moment, I would love it. But also, that ain't what I'm going to rely on because I'm trying to get another one of those. And also, I do want to speak on that a little bit because it's funny. And it's kind of the day and age we are with the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, I've been a Kansas City Chief fan my whole life. And just to hear the players on how they speak, whether it be Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, MVS, Jerick McKinnon, the kind of caliber they're coming into each and every year. It's like that championship attitude, that championship swagger. Something we're not used to seeing, but now we're seeing year in and year out, and why this team always contends for Super Bowls. I think the mantra throughout everyone's press conference has been, hey, we've already moved on. We're ready for the next one. Last year is behind us. And that's crazy to think because a lot of teams, they get caught up in what they've already recently done, and it's hard to do a repeat. And you see, the Kansas City Chiefs are zoned in, and I'm excited about it. But also, I'm excited about the depth on this team as well. And so is Jerick McKinnon, because a player that caught his eye was undrafted free agent Deneric Prince. Jerick McKinnon mentioned that he had to kind of chat with the running back group and like, who is this dude? Someone his size shouldn't have hands and shouldn't have speed like that. And it was Deneric Prince. And what caught my eye with Deneric Prince as well is he's not taking like useless reps, which honestly no reps are useless at this point of the offseason and minicamp. But he's actually running with the first team, which makes me think, this dude might have a legit shot at making the roster. And that's why I said training camp is going to be so interesting and fun to watch because the depth around this team is absurd. But also, I have my eyes on Clyde Edwards-Helaire because he's going to have someone like Deneric Prince who's going to come in like Isaiah Pacheco last year, ready to take a grown man's job. And that's what makes this offseason so exciting. And we also got some interesting, kind of intriguing news, but not really news. And there was a running back on the Kansas City Chiefs in their mini camp that kind of sneaked in under the wire. He's not signed with them. It's tryouts, and it's former Rams running back Darrell Henderson. And everyone was like, whoa, okay, that's interesting. None of us saw that coming. Like I mentioned, he's not signed under contract or anything. It's just a tryout. And if the Kansas City Chiefs did decide to bring him in, it's again, depth, but also veteran experience. He's been in the league for 4 years. He's had success in this league too. And if the Kansas City Chiefs decide to sign him to a 1-year deal, it's a battle in the running back group. Literally, you have Isaiah Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon, Deneric Prince, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. You bring Darrell Henderson in. There's not enough spots for all those bodies. That's going to be a camp battle that I'm going to have my eyes zoned in on, because depth all around the board. It's great to have talent, but there's going to be an odd man out somewhere. Now let's focus on the playmakers. We are talking about the wide receivers. And again, this is another unit that there's depth all around the board. Yes, they may not have that top 5 wide receiver on the team. They may not have Tyreek Hill on the team, but that doesn't matter. If you look at the depth across the board, the Kansas City Chiefs have one of the most loaded wide receiver rooms in this year, coming into this year. And one guy who I've been preaching for, who I've been saying is going to take a huge leap next year, is Sky Moore. And he has been impressing in minicamp. He has been catching the eyes from guys like MVS, even Patrick Mahomes, even Coach Reed, Travis Kelce. They have all been raving about Sky Moore. And I'm so excited for week 1 to come and for him just to show he is a much grown player than what he was last year. And also, just listening to what Sky Moore has been speaking about, 2 things that caught my eye was he knows what he needed to grow on, and it was finding out what Patrick Mahomes likes and getting comfortable with him. We all knew that from the outside looking in. But the fact that Sky Moore knew that and he made it a key issue that in Texas, and now that he needed to get that chemistry together, is so, so huge. And then there was a key line that he said where he told Mahomes, like, hey, just find me. Good things are going to happen. That is the kind of attitude you love from a wide receiver. That it's that like cocky confidence to where just get me the ball. Nothing bad's going to happen, and we're going to make great plays and history together. Something tells me Sky Moore is going to be wide receiver number 1. I know a lot of people are banking on Kadarius Toney, and a lot of people hope that Justin Ross is going to come out of nowhere. But at the end of the day, if Sky Moore can get that chemistry together, he's going to be a very, very lethal weapon in this league. And another guy I want to discuss too, who I feel can be an under-the-radar, sneaky guy that a lot of Chiefs Kingdom is saying won't even make the roster, is Richie James Jr. He's been impressing throughout this mini camp. And you guys, Richie James Jr. is a stud on the football field, and it's a guy who the Kansas City Chiefs have been interested in for quite some time now. And that's why it's kind of mind-boggling to me that Chiefs Kingdom thinks he can be cut. Now, at the end of the day, I know it's a loaded room. You can't keep everyone. But also, Brett Veach basically has been working to get Richie James on this roster, and I don't feel it's just to lose him either. He's been trying to trade for him since he was a San Francisco 49er. And Richie James has that talent to where we saw last year where, he had almost 600 yards and 4 touchdowns with Daniel Jones, and who everyone said, oh, he doesn't have a receiving core, which is kind of funny to me now. Everyone was hating on the Giants wide receivers, and now Kansas City has 2 of them, and Kadarius Toney and Richie James Jr., and they could end up being very, very valuable pieces for the Chiefs moving into 2023. But also, MVS spoke a little bit about Richie James and saying, man, he's just a quiet dude, but he's a baller. He knows what he does. He comes in, shows up, and balls out. And that's what I expect from Richie James, the new number 17 for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I feel like he's going to be a playmaker on Sunday. It may not be every week, but you're going to be, okay, there's Richie James. He showed up. And he's going to be making plays that is going to help us win football games next year. Now, the final guy I want to discuss and talk about, and we had to flip side of the ball. I had to show the defense a little bit of love, and it's rookie Nick Jones. We discussed about him previously on this channel where he was making some incredible interceptions throughout the rookie minicamp. And now that we're in mandatory minicamp, he made an incredible interception off of Patrick Mahomes, and it's just like, we knew what this dude was coming out of college, where he has a knack for getting for the football no matter where it's at. And could Brett Veach really have done it again? Could he have got another steal in the 7th round? I do not know what to make of Nick Jones, honestly, so far. But again, it's going to be a guy you're going to have your eyes on when it comes to training camp and preseason, where he may be your nickel cornerback. Not saying starter, but we know how Spags works. Kind of the same as Coach Reed, where he will rotate his cornerbacks, and everyone is going to get a chance to play. Because at the end of the day, that's why they become so good. He doesn't care how young they are. He doesn't care how much playing time he's seen. He's going to throw you out there, and he's going to make a man out of you real quickly on that football field. And Nick Jones is showing early on he might deserve to see that football field sooner rather than later. I'm excited to see him. If he really has a knack for the football like what he is showing now, it's something the Kansas City Chiefs really need, because if you look at that secondary, they don't really have ball hawks like that where they can tally up a lot of interceptions. Now, we're hoping that changes next year with McDuffie, where he gets a lot of pass breakups, but now that he's in another year and we're all expecting him to take that huge leap, he may start rallying in interceptions. Snead also didn't get that many interceptions. Honestly, I don't think the secondary in whole does. If you add someone like Nick Jones back there, and he is a ball hawk and knows how to get a ball, that'd be very, very crucial. And another guy they brought in, which I don't know too much about how he's progressed, but Mike Edwards as well. He had an inconsistent last year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but throughout his whole career, it's another dude that knows how to get after the football and also take it to the crib. The Kansas City Chiefs made it a presence throughout the draft and free agency that, hey, we need to get turnovers. So I expect that to change next year. With that, Chiefs Kingdom, I am gonna sign out. Please do subscribe to this channel because I'm going to keep you up to date on anything Kansas City Chief related, and you do not want to miss out on any of that. And if you did like this video, please leave that big thumbs up. Y'all take care. Peace.